An incident involving a video recording of police trying to grab a 14-year-old at a local pool in Masterton has raised questions over the way police engage with rangatahi. A psychologist who is involved with rangatahi in care and protection in the courts says treating rangatahi like adults, regardless of their size, is not necessarily the way to de-escalate a situation, especially in front of family and friends. Consultant clinical psychologist and senior lecturer at the University of Auckland, Dr. Tanya Kago no Ngāti Maru Tainui is also involved, as I say, in care and protection in the courts and is with us now. Tēnā koe, Dr. Kago. Thank you for joining us.
Tēnā koe, Liam.
Now, we've seen the video of the way police dealt with youth at a public pool without fully understanding the context surrounding this and considering that the youngster might have had a bit of an attitude. Is there a right and wrong in this situation?
Well, I wish there was a right and wrong. That's certainly not the right thing that we're seeing there. What we do know is this is a really traumatic experience for everybody who was involved. So not just this poor rangatahi who's being mishandled by the police, but also for his whānau and the other public members watching. I agree. I think what happens is that, and this goes on a lot with the police, we know about the long journey that they've had in the kind of racist operations that go not only with the police but in the justice system, and it's trying to be addressed, but this isn't the way to do it. And there's several things that come to mind. The first one is that, adolescent brain is really not that good. It's full of emotion. We've also got the fact that in this video what we see is lots of strong emotion, right? We see that this young guy is trying his best to hold his mana intact without really knowing what's gone on. So certainly there's some stuff in there that we go, we wouldn't kind of like that too much. But the thing for me is that the adolescent brain's still developing. And so it doesn't make good decisions. It doesn't make good decisions in high emotional content areas. And this is certainly what was one of those. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that his whānau are trying, and young, there's a lot of good stuff that I see in here too. I see his whānau trying to support him and look after him. And I guess though what I also see is that our people have learned it is not safe for any interaction with police. And that's why you see them videoing now. That's why you're seeing them recording, because they don't feel safe. They don't feel like they're going to get heard. And I also saw, one of the policemen trying, he was at the back, he wasn't involved initially. He was trying to talk calmly, and he actually did have a very good impact, I think, on the overall outcome at the end there. But, anyone watching that, any mother, any auntie, any grandparent, any brother or sister would have felt absolute mamai for what they saw in the video.
Well, it feels like the police could have potentially picked up the youngster if they needed to pick him up in a less public, less humiliating environment. Again, without fully knowing the situation, because on one hand, we don't want our tamariki having problems with the police. Conversely, we don't want police treating our rangatahi badly. What's the answer here?
Yeah, I think the answer is really they should have taken a hands-off approach. Unless there was imminent danger and it didn't look like it, in the moment, they should have taken a hands-off approach, a kind of let's chat with your parent first approach, who I understand was there. And so that shows that this whānau, they had parents who were there watching, a mama was there. But the way in which they did it in a public forum, that young guy was pushed into a corner, and what's he going to do? He's going to push back. And that's exactly what we see. Now, it's not what we want, because we know that often our rangatahi get hurt in those experiences. But we also saw his mate there come and try and calm and do a beautiful job, I think, initially of trying to say, look, hey, can we just calm this down? He's going to walk out with you. You kind of probably don't need all of this, the cuffs and stuff. Can we just kind of take and he's in there very gently. He doesn't rush in. His mate, he's calmly trying to talk to the police about, hey, can we kind of try and get this resolved?
Sure.
So you can see the adolescent brain is kind of operating, but he looks older, right? And so I think that's what happened. I think police have had lots of negative interactions with our rangatahi, and so they kind of go in with that bias or that what's the word for it? That unintended but waiting for something bad to happen. And when you wait for that, it's going to happen.
So Interested to know, we know he's 14, right? Very young.
Yeah.
How traumatising this, you mentioned the trauma a little bit earlier, how traumatising
Yeah.
can this type of treatment be for rangatahi and their whānau?
Oh, devastating. This is the stuff that those little young boys that watched as well and were involved, they're going to dream about. They're going to think about in a place where they should have had a good time, right? In a family pool and an environment. So it's a context as well as what happened. The police don't say much, so there's that stuff. So nobody knows what's kind of going on. By the time adults are involved in trying to support, it's already gone too far. So, those kind of traumatizing events, this boy's going to obviously have some sort of bruising as a result. So that's going to be a reminder. He's going to think twice. And we know this happens all the time. Our whānau don't feel safe with police. They think twice before calling them.
Right. So from your professional perspective, what do you feel is the absolute best way that police could have dealt with this better?
Well, I would have liked to have seen, I saw there were Māori wardens there. I wondered about whether that could have happened, where the wardens had gone and maybe spoken to the parents, the police had waited outside and, sort of said, hey, there's some stuff going on, we don't know what it's about, and take, because that's a real positive of having Māori wardens involved usually in these types of experiences. So that would have, the hands-off first approach when there's no imminent danger. The second one is the Māori Toa approach, like really calm and having the kind of just a talking with, and certainly not with three people, 3 policemen, 2 Māori wardens. Well, that's just overkill for a 14-year-old rangatahi. And I found it really hard to see his young, very young, maybe 8 or 9 maybe, who were chasing after and in tears. You could hear them being choked up and yelling. That's stuff that, nightmares are made of. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Consultant clinical psychologist and senior lecturer at the University of Auckland, Dr. Tanya Cargo. Thank you so much for joining us today and providing some insights into an issue that clearly needs some work. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora, ngā mihi.